Now, let's get some more Labour reaction to that budget. And I'm joined now by Jonathan Reynolds, who's the Shadow Business and Trade Secretary. Jonathan, welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure. So, no surprises. Keir Starmer was saying that the Chancellor is smiling as the ship goes down. The public will recognise this Tory con. The Tories have lost control of the economy. Is that mainly because he's angry that the Tories stole your non-dom tax idea?
Well, yeah, first of all, I mean, 14 years, the culmination of total failure, to be honest. I mean, here we are, 14 years of Conservative government, the tax burden still going up at the highest level ever, business investment, the lowest in the G7, living standards going backwards. I mean, that is the test that people will apply to it. You're fair to say, yes, we've been robbed a little bit of some of our policies. Look, that can happen when you're winning the argument, and everything a lot of Conservative MPs have said about that change to the non-dom policy. They'll now have to eat their words. But just imagine if they had done it 5 or 6 years before, and think of the revenue for public services or for taxes that could have brought about. And so, look, the duty, the burden will be now on us to recognise that we're going to put that money to the NHS, into emergency dental care in particular. We're going to have to go and find an alternative to that, because we still believe that need is there. But we don't do that immediately after we've had something stolen. We'll have to go away and think about that properly. But doesn't it tell you everything, that the big picture is as dire as ever, but the only interesting things are the things the government are stealing from the opposition?
Can I quickly ask you, Jonathan, about the money that you'd have left, the wiggle room that the Labour Party would have if you were to get into power? Liam Byrne, of course, famously left that letter, "There's no money left." But the national debt then, in 2010, was a mere 960 billion. Now the national debt is 2.6 trillion. It's almost trebled. So it's all fair and well for the Labour Party to say, no, we would do things better. But where would you get the money from? The country is potless. The biscuit tin is empty.
Yeah, you're right to say it feels like the Chancellor's operating a sort of scorched earth policy, you know, and it's not responsible and it's not in the national interest. And of course, I regret that. But of course, there's still an election to have. I think the attitude they're adopting is not the right one. Look, we've got some of our revenue raises still in place. We'll change the taxation of private schools in the United Kingdom. We will, for instance, make them pay VAT and business rates. We have a change to how private equity income will be taxed, and we'll have to find an alternative to this non-dom policy. And it's also important to say, actually, our fiscal rules are much tougher on day-to-day spending, and that's why those policies are in place. But they do allow a bit more of investment spending, and that's really important to get the economy growing. But yes, look, it's also important, I think, to say what we really need to see the British economy work better. It's not all about spending. I mean, planning and building homes, that's a big part of what we'll do differently to the Conservative Party. How the skills system works, the apprenticeship levy, letting businesses spend more of those funds, their own funds, on upskilling their workforce, improving their deal with the European Union, which will make the economy grow faster, having stronger employment rights. I mean, there are other things that we can do, but we've also got those switch spends in place, and it's the aggregate effect of all of those which we believe will give people better living standards, a faster growing economy and better public services.
So, Jonathan, it sounds like the only way then is to increase taxes. Jeremy Hunt said today the Labour Party will be a party of increased taxes, and made a joke. Peter Mandelson, of course, advising Sir Keir Starmer to lose a bit of weight. And then he joked that the British public that lost a few pounds if the Labour Party was to get in power.
Well, I mean, the facts remain that the Conservative Party has put the tax burden up to the highest ever level in British history, so it's a little bit rich to criticise other people. If you look at the aggregate effect of the tax changes announced in this Parliament, people are paying higher taxes today than when the Parliament was formed in 2019. The national insurance cuts are only giving you back maybe half of the increase you've already had to suffer through the tax thresholds being frozen, through higher council taxes. The government puts more of the burden of things like social care onto the council tax burden. And people know this. I mean, people aren't stupid. They know they're not better off. And it's a tragedy that that's the reality after 14 years of Conservative government. But that is the case. And I think, you know, a little bit of self-awareness and humility from the Conservative Party probably is necessary there. But also, you know, those things I've just said are necessary to get the economy going faster. They can't deliver those things. You're never going to get stronger employment rights and a better relationship with Europe and public investment to tackle net zero from the Conservative Party. If they were going to do that, they'd have done it already in the last 14 years.
OK, thanks for joining us, Jonathan Reynolds. There's the Shadow Business and Trade Secretary. Thanks for your time. It's always a pleasure.